real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Listen. It's alive. Clear the paddles. We have a pulse. We found a pulse.
It's alive.
Leafs down the Florida Panthers.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
How quick is Derek on that for you, JB?
That's a nice pull.
2-1. Win last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs to extend the Eastern Conference semifinal to a Game 5 at the Scotiabank Arena on Friday night. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, David Sisboomba, Derek Brandeo. Quick on that, too. Derek, nice job.
Yeah, well done.
And Sammy McKee, who we can predict, woke up today with a glee of hope.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thrilled.
What do you think, Sammy?
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Don't you dare, Sammy. Don't you dare. We need you pessimistic.
They still got to win 3 games here, fellas. I'm happy they got us a couple more shows here of fun, a couple more shows of hope. But it's still a really, really steep hill they're walking up.
It is, and we're gonna get through it, and we'll figure out reasons why they can do it, or maybe reasons why they can't. But that's going to be all part of the fun in the next few hours. Gord Stellick will join us in about 48 minutes. Leaf Nation pre- and post-game, former Leaf general manager. He's always got a great pulse on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and why not? He's lived it and breathed it his whole life. Kevin Lowe in the second hour, 6-time Stanley Cup champion, is going to talk to us about the Oilers and Vegas. An ugly incident at the end of that game has led to a NHL call for Alex Pietrangelo that in all probability will lead to a suspension.
I would think so.
So we'll get into that a little later. Chris Therien, former Flyer defenseman, Snow the Goalie, a Flyers podcast. He's also got a book, Road to Redemption. He's going to join us to talk about the hiring of Keefe Jones as president out of the broadcast booth to the head honcho running the Philadelphia Flyers. That's fantastic news. So Bundy will be by to talk about that. He's also got a .com, JB, called bundyrecovery.com.
Oh, cool.
That will help people struggling with drug and alcohol addiction to actually reach out to him. So I know that's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, man, that's great.
So
I'll check that out.
We'll definitely give him a plug on bundyrecovery.com. But in the meantime, we talked this time yesterday about what Game 5 was all about for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I used words like respectability, accountability,
saving face.
Mission accomplished for one game.
Definitely. Definitely think so. I don't know that they did anything that different in that game aside from, keep Florida's transition chances down, right? They defended pretty well. Florida went from 14 slot shots per game to 6 last night. And to me, that's the story of the game. The Leafs just really smothered Florida's offense and got a couple of bounces, Kip.
Yeah, it's just so clear to the eye. I mean, the numbers I know support, and sometimes they don't support.
Yeah.
But for me, just the optics of watching the Leafs spend less time in their own zone, watching Florida have less sustainability on a forecheck, made all the difference in the world. The Leafs had the puck a lot more, maybe more last night than they did in all 3 games.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. They managed to play a little bit in the right end of the rink, and just not much happened last night, by and large, which is not a terrible thing. I got an article on Sportsnet right now about the idea of how, if it, had they got the breaks in game 2, which they were probably the better team, or the overtime game or whatever, you'd feel good about the Leafs spot, right? Like there's a formula for them in terms of slowing down Florida, in terms of, their best guys scoring a couple goals, Bobrovsky coming back to earth. Unfortunately, it's 3-1. Unfortunately, the way the games have fallen, they're not in a great spot, but I like their odds. Like I still think they're going to win Friday. It's going to be hard for me to come out. Game 6 in Florida might be the one where I pump the brakes, but I still like them Friday.
Well, I know going into the weekend, I had talked to you guys, and for me, after watching 4 games, I mentioned the minute and 6 seconds, right?
Yep.
And I think if you take away that minute and 6 seconds, you could
Different
easily
series.
be looking at a 2-2
going home. In which case, you're a massive favorite, based on the way the games have been played and what's left in terms of, your superstars have actually created, but it's just starting to go in the net, and Bobrovsky and figuring out how to slow them down. Like, there are good things happening, but again, that minute and 6 seconds happened.
So how about you, Sammy? What's the number one feel for you, feeling a little better today after watching what you saw last night?
I thought, looking at the way the Florida Panthers played, to me, they've been playing as an extreme underdog for however long, like since the start of the Bruins series. And to me, it looked like something that kind of flipped on a team where all of a sudden they were in a driver's seat. And we've joked about it and talked about it on this show, and it's one of the biggest cliches, but the fourth one is the hardest to win. To me, they looked a little tight. They didn't look like their usual, free-flowing selves where they're forechecking, their offense is coming easy. The Leafs give the Leafs a ton of credit for playing really well defensively and blocking a ton of shots. But I thought for the first time, it looked like a team that's been an underdog for a long time, that feeling a bit of pressure, and it showed to me.
One of the things that often gets mentioned with our Stanley Cup in 1994 was that we were up 3-1, and then Vancouver came back the next 2 games, and then there was a 2-day break between 6 and 7. And we're going to have Kevin Lowe on later on in the show. He's the perfect guy to talk about what that extra day did for our hockey club to regroup for something that many felt was unraveling.
Going Vancouver's way.
And I think if we look at that extra day off, that made us unfortunately have to repeat a lot of things for 2 shows in a row without games.
Yeah.
Bad for us.
Same show 3 days in a row, yeah.
Bad for us, but great for the Leafs last night. I thought they were able to kind of rebound well. Giordano looked like that extra day felt
so
lot better for him. Tavares had, I think, better legs.
He had 3 good chances to score. Yeah.
And you were able to calm Brody down and McCabe. You were able to ask Luke Shen to drop his minutes by 4 or 5 last night and still be very effective. No question in my mind, the extra day was all about the Leafs having a chance to regroup here. And for Florida, it was just another thought of, God, I don't want to go back to Toronto.
Yeah, one of the things that I think has been a big advantage, I like Sammy's point about them playing the underdog card here on the way in, Kip, was like they're trying to make the playoffs, right? Everything was against them, and so they were just playing and trying to see if anything good can happen. Being up 3-0 and sitting on that for that extra day, it really did flip. And when you're the underdog and the score is 0-0 in a hockey game, and I said this to Sammy yesterday, it's 0-0, you feel like you're winning, right? The longer you hang on, keep it close, it's going your way, you're hanging around, that's good. When you're supposed to win, that's like, oh, we're not winning, we're supposed to put them away here, whatever. It's a much different mindset. And I felt like through that game, the Leafs were in it for a while, then they got the bounce, right? They get the bounce off the ref's knee, and all of a sudden things turn for Florida. I don't know how long Florida is going to maintain this feeling of they're supposed to be the ones who put it away, but certainly some of that pressure has flipped.
All right, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on his overviews of what he saw in Game 5, and we'll react.
So the first thing is that they care. They care deep. I thought from an effort standpoint, I thought it was our best effort of the season. It's all the way through from start to finish. There was no real let up. Obviously, it's a very close game, but our competitiveness defensively and our urgency defensively was best it's been all year. It was an unbelievable job by our guys here tonight.
Not that they had great looks against Woll, but when they did, they either missed the net or they didn't get through. The block shots, I think, were maybe 2.5 or 3 to 1 in Toronto's favor. And for the first time in the series, they looked a little frustrated not being able to penetrate in the middle of the ice.
Yeah, and that's something that they have thrived on. We talked about transition plays for them, like goals within 5 seconds of a turnover. They didn't get that opportunity because the Leafs managed the puck better and protected the house better and kept him to the outside. So it's, all year, statistically, the Panthers have outperformed their expected goals because these quick strike attempts. If the Leafs don't give them the puck in those spots, they're not going to get them, and it's going to look an awful lot like it did in Game 4.
All right, let's go to Keefe on his number one goaltender from here on in, Joseph Woll.
Our team in front of him gave him every opportunity for success today with how they competed in front of him. I mean, the number of blocked shots that we had here today, keeping the puck away. But you're 100% right that anything that did get through, he looked really confident and in control. So, yeah, it was great. I was asked the question yesterday, if I considered Matt Murray for the start, and I gave a very short answer of no, but I wish I had elaborated at the time just to say that it's not that it wasn't a reflection or isn't a reflection of how we feel about Matt Murray. It's more about how we feel about Joe Woll and his development from over the last year is frankly just well above what we had anticipated in terms of the timeline.
The Matt Murray part's interesting to me. Someone talked to him, eh? Like Kyle or someone was like, hey, you can't go out there and like crap on the guy who's under contract
he's
next
learning.
year.
I think he's just learning.
Yeah.
It's still part of the experience, but yeah, I mean, truth is it's like, it's not a reflection on Matt Murray publicly, but behind the scenes it sure is.
Something that we haven't really looked at much.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It is a reflection. The guy's available.
It's a
he was
huge
your starter
reflection.
to start the year.
Yes. Big time reflection.
So,
and I mean, I'm not sitting here patting ourselves on the back, but we had ample conversations about this guy maybe being called upon at some point.
Yeah. And, I loved learning a little bit more about him yesterday, talking with McKenna and hearing that, no social media, kind of.
The story Luke Fox told about him, or was it you who said it?
Was it Luke, not McKenna? Yeah.
That said that he didn't know that Ryan O'Reilly was on the Leafs.
Yeah.
Until he saw
I told that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was you.
And
okay.
Bukauskas yesterday before the game was talking about how he was doing like water therapy, like swimming in the ocean or whatever. There's clips of him playing the piano in the lobby. Like, he's a different cat, but this is great. I love the fact that he's kind of in his own world.
Boys are just weird.
I got to think that Leaf Nation will eventually get to him.
Well, right now, without social media, can you be reached?
Is he in bubble wrap right now, buried in a basement?
He's in the best position possible, offline.
Don't let him get to a gas station. Don't let him get groceries. Don't let him go for a walk.
Just get to the rink, tend the goal. Think he's a religious guy. He's got God in the post. He believes. He's got that extra backing. It's all good. All good things with old JW.
It is so abundantly clear, though, that just fundamentally he is like, there's no, if it's going in, it's going in, but it isn't going in because he fell on his face or he's
so true. He's like
off
the CPU
his post by 4 inches.
Yeah.
Like,
if you make a great shot, you might beat him, but he's probably going to be where he's supposed to be.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
very seldom do you see him scrambling.
we have Maurice on him as well, right?
Well, he got asked about, trying to make a rookie goalie feel a little bit uncomfortable in the net or whatever, and this is how Paul Maurice responded.
No, we want to, he's a rookie goalie, as you said. We just kept talking about that before the game and then invited, want to make him feel comfortable in the league. So, listen, they played well, they played hard. There's parts of a game I didn't love. Shots are 25-25. I don't know, we might have 20 blocked and got blocked about 9 of theirs. That's probably the difference in the game.
Yep, that's what we said.
Maurice is funny though. He's like, kind of trying to make a joke out of it. We got another clip. I don't know when you guys want to get to it.
No, let's get into it. You brought it up. Paul Maurice, after the game, probably a ton of emotion. I mean, he's been around a long time.
Trying to make it light.
You could sense the emotion of him in this sequence. Let's have a listen.
Good luck.
You saw in the last round what happens when a team doesn't take advantage of their chances.
And when you're saying that, I'm thinking of Will Ferrell. You know exactly what I'm talking about, that basketball movie when he's got, well, that's exactly how I felt. No, Emily, go ahead. Finish your question. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you when you said that, that's what flashed through my head.
But I guess just what is the concern on allowing a team to have life in a series?
Well, the opposite part of that idea is that you would expect a team with 112 points to have no life in a series, or if you just did what you could easily do, that this would be 4, and wouldn't think that any of you had predicted that. So we would expect, as the start, we'll go to Game 7 smiling. We lost a game today. That happens in the playoffs. I think to everybody so far. Okay, we're good. We're okay. And we get to play the next one. I think we're all good with that. Like, it wasn't so fabulous a win that they're not going to let us play the next one. Okay. No, go ahead. Keep them coming. Just try to hide your glee. I'm f***ing with you. But relax, for f***'s sakes. You guys look like the coach's office.
All right.
Hey,
I
what
mean,
an amazing job by me editing that.
I can't give Samsonov crap for dropping F-bombs and not give them to Maurice. I don't like it.
What the hell was he talking about?
I don't even know what any of that is. Like, I think he wanted to be John Cooper and keep it kind of light and like funny, but it's a little bit on tilt. It just seems a little rattled to me. Unfocused.
I thought he was, he just tried to go a little deeper in some spots when what would have been sufficient is we lost a hockey game in a best of 7.
Yeah.
And it's
We're
okay.
fine. We're fine.
We're okay. And we'll just move on. I mean, when you're talking about, giving a team life and like that happens within a hockey game. It happens within a period. It happens within a shift. You may lose momentum. There's ebbs and flows. That's just so common right now.
Yeah.
There's no, I think Paul sat there and said, the media's trying to lead me into the fact that we've lost momentum in the series and now it's all Leafs.
Yeah.
Was that the same quote when he mentioned hide your glee, or is that on another one?
Yeah, he said that.
Hide your glee. So, here's Paul Maurice. He's in Florida. What's he got? Like 3 beat writers that follow him around all year. Now he's staring in a room full of like 150.
I tell you, I think Paul likes it.
It's fine, but he also knows that like 175 of them are all like pro Leafs. When I say pro Leafs, I'm not saying that they're cheerleading them on, but their stories about the Leafs.
Yes.
It's not about Florida.
Right.
So that's...
No one's writing about
right?
Carter Verhaeghe's rush defense today.
And everybody gets accused of putting cheerleading on for the Leafs, but it's only natural, and we're guilty of it too. Their success means more work for us. It means more people will continue to follow. That alone.
We got Leafs in our logo,
right?
Kip, though. Like, that's
Hockey Night in Canada.
It is what we
same
are.
thing. Like, yes, they're cheering for the Leafs. Why wouldn't they? You don't want 5 million people watching you every night,
right?
You want to lose that audience and go back to 1 million?
Sure, yeah, I get your point. No one's to blame for the angles
it's just
they're
the
taking.
way it is.
But Paul definitely has his backup at it, I guess, feeling like he knows how people want it to go.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
Listen, I've cut a ton of audio this year from all different coaches and all different thing. That is the most deranged clip I've ever cut.
Oh, first off, what is the Will Ferrell? I guess
do you know
full tropic.
what
What's
movie
it called?
was he
Tropic,
talking
what's
about?
The
I don't know.
Any
He was
idea?
talking about semi-pro, but I have
Semi-pro,
no
right.
idea what.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look through the
random
quotes quickly.
Cursing at the end and hide your glee and like we get to I don't know. It was all anyway.
Yes.
My point is that maybe he's a little flustered. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe. Not saying, just saying.
His team stunk for long stretches of the year, and they stunk last night,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. They
Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
they didn't,
defended
they
fine
didn't
last
look
night.
right. Their energy was down, and the Leafs won a lot more battles along the walls. I thought Achari was terrific. I thought Ryan O'Reilly was good too.
Yeah.
Just very sound defensively.
15
and,
seconds left. He wins a puck battle. That's just like only he can win.
the other thing that stood out for me too is I don't know what the final number was, but like they won faceoffs, which means that you win puck possession, which means that they can't forecheck you.
Yeah.
They can't pin you.
Yeah. And what did you think of their big four guys? Like I thought the best of the group personally was Willie Nylander. I thought Nylander again, like he's got a lot of pop.
Yeah.
For 3 straight games, I didn't
Yeah.
like him in game 1, but
when he's coming back
yeah.
and back pressuring, I know he's engaged.
I would say that is the biggest differentiating factor between good Willie and bad Willie. When he's good Willie, he'll come back and be a part of it,
Yes.
right? And all of a sudden there's back pressure, they turn pucks over and they go the other way.
which means he's not cheating.
Right.
He's not blowing the zone. He's
right.
not.
He's supporting the puck
he
because
is.
he's already lower.
Yeah.
Rather than standing at the far blue going, well, I didn't get it very much tonight. No, good showing from him. Mitch gets 1-1. You like him last night?
He's the engine.
Yeah.
He doesn't show up like that. They have no chance of winning.
Yeah.
Still turning the puck over a ton, though, fellas.
But
Yeah.
he's got the puck a lot more, and it is a percentage thing with him. But him turning pucks over is not my biggest concern. That's just a guy that he needs to have the puck. He needs to make plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean if that gives him a little confidence and he gets going, that changes things for me. Matthews had 4 shots last night. Tavares had 3, as we mentioned, 2 or 3 good scoring chances. Like they weren't awesome. But that gives you more hope, I think, if you're a Leafs fan, that there's more there to give still.
They got the bounce off the official on the opening goal on a power play. But what did you see on the other power plays that would have given them more breathing room? It didn't happen until later on in the game with the Marner goal. But is that a concern for you at all? Are you seeing what you need to see on a power play?
You know what I want to see is more power plays, and that's not a critique of the officials necessarily, but boy, this Florida team is actually a very good 5-on-5 hockey team, and in the regular season they were a bottom third PK team, not a very good power play, and this has been so much 5-on-5 hockey. I feel like nothing's getting called. So if anything, Kip, I feel like their power plays out of sync, out of rhythm. Like they just don't look. It was an awful power play before they scored that goal. Like awful.
And like a lot of course, Leaf fans were bent out of shape about how they went that long without a penalty and they didn't get one throughout the first period. But I didn't think that it was like a bad stretch of officiating. Like I really didn't think there was anything that was that bad to be called. And then what was the first one that ended up being? Was it a high stick that because on Bunting, right?
The Bunting one where he's bleeding and they call it a minor instead of a double minor.
I thought that was black and white, Kipper. Were you surprised by that?
I don't think I recall how much blood was drawn.
He was noticeably bleeding. Yeah, not when he got up so much. When he showed the linesman on the bench before the puck was dropped, he's clearly bleeding. And so my only thought is, did he give himself like an extra something to the area to get a little blood? Not above a player.
Yeah.
That's not like tinfoil hat. I've bit my lip after getting high stick trying to get some blood to show the ref. Like,
and what about what drew a lot of emotion last night was the Gudas hit on Kampf, which was as hard as a hit.
That's a car accident.
Do
you think that was as hard as Myers? It was
true,
close.
like,
it was close.
Yeah.
It was as hard as
if
the
I
Myers
had
hit.
to choose which hit I receive, I take the Kampf one.
Listen,
but not by much.
I give Kampf full credit for not bailing
on that play
in the game.
Oh yeah,
in the game.
Well, you know what's funny is so he comes back, warrior for coming back.
Yes,
comes back, first touch of the puck, he beats a D wide, goes behind the net, and Gudas starts angling him off, and he threw that thing back in the other corner. Someone else handled this thing.
Like, I thought it should probably have been a 2-minute penalty.
It's a penalty.
But, like, the whistle, it's not like he took 4 steps after the whistle.
He had the puck.
The whistle goes.
But it's a clear charge.
It's a charge, but the whistle goes 1 second before he annihilates him. Like, I don't think it's a crime to hockey or anything, but I just probably should have been a penalty.
I saw Versteeg on Bunkus saying like it's, blindside, intent to injure, violent, really didn't like it. It's very clearly a minor penalty. Very clearly to me.
I just saw a really hard hit.
It was so
But it's
hard.
a Kip. He takes 4, there's camera angle of him accelerating 4 hard strides.
He went
into
in hard. He went hard.
Ill intent on that.
Kipper just agreed it should have been a penalty.
He rammed a guy into the boards. Could you have called it boarding? Yes.
Should it have been called boarding? Yes. Come on, Kippy. Yes.
I'm not.
Oh, come on.
I'd like to see a Leaf hit a Florida Panther that hard.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's not what I'm asking.
I like hard. I like hard checking. I do. I don't mind it at all.
Thanks, John Cooper.
He had the puck.
Lawyered you up there.
He had the puck. He's coming up with it. Gudas hit him. Just chalk it up to a hard hit and move on.
He got rocked.
Yeah, it was bad.
He got rocked.
And he kind of caught him underneath so he could turn him a little bit. Like, it's as hard as you can get hit. What do you think was harder, Meyer, Trouba, or that one?
I think the Meyer one is worse. Like, I'd rather take the Gudas hit, but
the way he hit the board.
Well, you got double impact though, right? One's just one impact, the other one's a double impact.
But Meyer is face on.
Yeah, I know.
Like at least you're getting to hit your shoulder on the boards or
crash
something.
Test dummy.
Yeah, like no touch of the brakes on that one.
And the fact that, like you said, Kampf stayed in the game.
Oh yeah.
But when
by the way, great hockey game by Kampf.
When he was lying there,
He's been good.
When he was lying there after it first happened, I thought he was in like major trouble.
I thought he was
so
in
like,
Narnia for
like
sure.
He was like looking up, and he just seemed so shocked by what had just happened to him after the whistle.
Part of it was just processing, like, how did I end up here?
Yeah.
Yup, that's me.
Yeah.
The old record scratch.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
You want to go back to Keefe on his big 4? Did we play that?
Let's play our clips. Let's do it.
It's really good. All right, we're getting her here. Yeah.
First thing is that they care. They care deeply. And because of that, you give that type of effort. They didn't want to go quietly, and that's what we've been talking about. We were going to leave it all out there here today. Of course, from the coach side of it, now you look and say, like, well, that's the standard. Like, that's where we've been trying to get to. That is what's required. So we can't have any let up in that regard. But yeah, I thought everybody played hard here today. It's another close game. It turns out that Willie and Mitch end up getting the goals for us, and that's huge. But no matter who ends up putting the puck over the line, we have to play a team game. And I thought that we did that here today.
In 2017-18 and 2018-19, the Tampa Bay Lightning lead the NHL in goals, go into the postseason, and get mopped. They lose in round 1, and it's because they just didn't defend at all. They change and they become the best defensive team in the playoffs the next few years, and they go to the Cup final. This, to me, is the Leafs. They used to be a very good run-and-gun team, one of the best offenses in the NHL. This version of them last night, how they played against Tampa, is a much more playoff
Didn't they have that
able defense?
Didn't they have that stretch without Morgan Riley where you went, holy moly, you can't get to the middle of the ice. And when you do, it's blocked.
That's what it looked like last night.
That's actually, I've heard that comparison from a lot of people during their best run this year.
Now, if you got Morgan going and skating well and picking his spots, and you have that element of a group defense, now
it's a recipe.
Can you rally around that?
Which is why we started the show being like, if it's 2-2, you feel great. It's just that there's no room for error. And, I don't know about you guys, but there's a lot of guys I haven't liked. Even last night. Like, I thought McCabe last night, Kip, I thought he was bad.
Listen, he's struggled.
Yeah, I think his confidence has been shook since he threw the big hits, got scored on, and people went, maybe don't do that. And now he's kind of caught between. Go, don't go.
And once again, I thought Shen was able to buy some others some time to get it going.
Shen, by defensive metrics, only Jacob Slavin has been better defensively, like goals against per 60. It's like Slavin, Shen in the playoffs.
So it's been Hart and Chart his playoffs?
Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And he made potentially a season-saving play on Verhaeghe.
That'll be a highlight if the
That
Leafs
was
ever do something here.
Verhaeghe. For some reason, I was saying Barkov the last little while, but it was Verhaeghe who's
Cuts
got
to
a
the middle.
terrific shot and
Yes.
chose to take one more step around him, and just a perfectly timed. Just the mere fact that he's there.
Yeah. Trying to block the shot,
That's
still
right.
big enough guy to reach and get a stick, and then it hops and gets out of the zone.
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, it's a game changer, essentially. So, yeah, good that they have some people going. But the D, pretty good. Hall leads the team in time on ice last night, or the D for time on ice.
Good haul.
Yeah, we got the good one for night.
Got the good haul for one night.
That makes a big difference to their defending. It's just the only question is now they've scored 2 goals, 6 straight games. I'm not worried about the D anymore. It's like, can they score?
Oh my goodness!
That's-
Can you imagine you asking that question in like a few months ago?
Yeah.
That would be.
If I said
an
they played
issue?
6 playoff games and couldn't get to 3
Yeah.
goals.
Well, how about 2 weeks ago? They
Right.
scored 5 every game
Yeah.
against the Lightning. Like it's really flipped here. But if I can, go down the old hope road here for a second,
Whoa.
the thing that does potentially give me hope,
Is a breakout game.
exactly, that they
Just one where they score 5. And
that
That has to be Friday night.
does.
eventually Bobrovsky's not going to be all world. He's been one of the most inconsistent goalies in the world. He's hot, cold as they come. Maybe Friday night's the one where 4 or 5 go past him and they start to kind of have self-doubt. That's if I'm going down the hope road, that's the bike I'm riding on. I
Maybe.
guess.
Yeah,
I'd rather hang my hat on not that, to be honest with you.
On
And I'm
the
not
scoring?
saying that it can't happen, but people got to stop leaning towards that and just start focusing on more process, which they were process driven last night for me. That I look at goal scoring, and some people want to sit there and say, okay, the core 4 going into last night, they only have one job, and that's to put the puck in the net. And it's
not true.
It's not true. It's not true. That's the end result. But they were more process driven for me, and I'd rather focus on the process again Friday night than, let's just hope Bobrovsky becomes the old Bobrovsky. Like
I'm saying both things can be true here, Kipper.
right? No different than they can go, okay, it's Joseph Woll. Come on. I mean, he's a rookie. He's
Right.
never been there before. He's going to crack. Like it's almost that there's 2 ways you can look at it here. And I don't think Joseph Woll's going to crack. And I don't think that Bobrovsky's going to fall off the face of the earth. Both may happen, but again, we're into that probable or impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, so much of this now is like, you play pretty much the same game you've played and you get a couple bounces last game. What side are you going to be on come Friday and Saturday or Sunday night?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of playing that same game and sticking to it. And that's what I was talking about at the top of the show about 0-0 is not losing. You are not falling behind by staying and being content. I've talked about that a lot in these playoffs. Being comfortable in close games and being content and patient and waiting for the chances that Florida will give you. Aaron Ekblad's defensive statistics this year, bleh. However, this playoff season, he's been pretty good. But these guys will wear down. Mark Stahl, Gudas, Ekblad, you're going to get chances. It's the process you're talking about, being content. Anyway, we also have Keefe on the mentality.
And you think that Austin Matthews might shoot a couple in the net at some point too?
That is very likely to happen.
So you got 3 more games here. Hopefully, if you can get 3 goals out of him in the next few games.
What do you have, Austin Matthews? Okay, you want more?
More. I absolutely want more. Offense. Like, I know he's been really good
Forget
defensively.
about end result, though. Like, what is it that's going to help him put the puck in the net, Sammy? Is it being a little bit more intense?
It just feels like he's not the same in terms of his offensive, how dynamite he usually is offensively. It just doesn't seem like it's there.
Yeah, you've
zip-
seen
the
some
zip doesn't
moments
seem
where he
like
gets
it's
like a
there.
rush. Like last night, he's on that rush with Yarncroc. He's kind of caught between. I don't know if you remember it, but Yarncroc's open. He's like, he's Yarncroc. I'm Matthews. I'm going to keep this. But he doesn't really get to a spot.
See, I see the exact same thing you do.
Yeah.
For me, he's really turned himself into a predictable hockey player where there's sometimes he's over the blue line, his head's buried, and nobody in the building, especially Bobrovsky, thinks that he's gonna pass the puck. The shot's coming. I think he's lost a little bit of a dimension here in terms of unpredictability.
I do think that's actually an interesting thought, that he is somewhat predictable.
Yeah,
at
I
this
mean,
minute.
it's not like Yarncroc's a goal scorer. Marner's not a natural shooter. Like, it's not like there's, someone he's going to give it to. You look at some of the top lines around the league that have, whether Colorado last year, you got McKinnon and Rantanen, or, some of the, having a couple of shooters. It's an interesting thought for sure.
Trying, what I've noticed in the back half is how many wraparounds he tries.
He almost scored on one last night.
Yeah, he's had like 20 in the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still highly unlikely.
Yeah.
But to me, those at times are really forced when he's big and strong enough where he can maybe take a next step or move the puck up high or start a different rotation. It just seems like he's forcing things so much right now, including his shots.
Do you think it looks at all like injury? It's not my theory. I know Bunk kind of thought that a little bit.
Bieksa brought that up on the panel too, maybe a couple of
there
days
just
ago.
does seem to be some. I hate that, because if you go back and look at people talking about the Leafs, every playoff loss over the past whatever, someone hypothesizes about injuries that aren't there. But there's just been a few moments where you're like, God, he usually gets a little something more on that or whatever. So yeah, for me, I think he's done a lot of good thing. He wins pucks, defends well, blocks shots. I think he's been good. But the offensive absence of okay, he's taking it over. I've still been waiting for that sometimes.
Just the end of the game, another hard hit on Morgan Riley. How were you guys? How did you see the whole thing unfolding at the end of the game?
Loved the response.
Yeah, Leafs had two guys that will do something, right? McCabe and Achari, happy to be in there and throw punches. I thought. Good on their part. Marner gets wrangled by Tkachuk. They obviously know each other.
How excited was Sam
Tkachuk
Bennett? No, Sam Bennett.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Bennett just lives for that exact moment. He went flying in there, jumps on top.
Yeah, those are just free. They look at it and say the game's over. It's a freebie.
And he's Superman punching McCabe in the face while he's lying there on the ice. Bang, bang. Marner doing his best Matthews impression, smiling after getting punched in the face. That was interesting.
All right, we're gonna sneak in the mentality that Keefe has on moving forward here after this win.
Yep.
Well, you certainly enjoy it in the room, but by the time we come out here, by the time we get on the bus, this is just one. We got a long way to go here. And we're certainly not satisfied, and it certainly won't get any easier. But the job and the challenge that we had here today, the guys met and got it done. And now we get to bring it back to Toronto, and we have to have another same type of effort. Now the challenge is to bring it back here. We want to build positive momentum. I think we've done that here tonight. You want to bring it back to Toronto, and you want to make the opposition a little bit uncomfortable. Now they've got to pack their stuff and fly to Toronto tomorrow. So we've done that, and now we need to, work towards bringing it back here.
Oh yeah. Pack the bags. We're taking you with us.
It's a depressing one. You pack your bags going to the rink that night, probably, if you're Florida, and you're like, God.
I just hope that the guys, obviously it's led by the core four, but the whole roster knows that you're going to be 30 seconds into Friday night's first shift, and game 4 is just a distant memory. Yeah. You are right into what have you done for me? Not lately, the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, you can get booed off the ice again, no problem.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you're not out of the woods by any stretch here.
But I love that now it's bang, bang, bang in terms of games every other night. Like if they were to go on a run, you have the young goalie as like a clear turning point. You all of a sudden there's no more 3-day gaps, and you get the chance to just bang, bang, bang these. So Friday night's big one.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh boy.
Sammy is now.
And no changes? No Samsonov, no Nyes.
You want to get to a couple clips on those guys?
Yeah, it's just an update.
Let's hear the update
on both. So we'll go to Samsonov. Okay. Maybe I didn't put those clips in.
Here's the update. He's not playing.
Yeah, Samsonov.
Yeah.
And Nyes feels better.
Hasn't skated.
Hasn't skated. What do you do if you're in a 6 or 7 predicament?
He goes in the hockey game.
Yeah, he does go in the hockey game.
Yeah.
I do a better job of protecting his minutes, though.
Yeah,
I
good
wouldn't
point.
thrust him back on with Marner and Matthews.
Now, I don't know.
You know how I feel about that.
I probably just keep him away from the old butcher, Bennett. And then you feel better about it.
It's crazy, right? Because
They could still use him.
Yeah, you don't want to put a guy in a bad spot by any means, but if he's cleared,
yes,
I mean he's one of their best 12
think
forwards.
You just find a way to kind of get him in the rotation, and depending on how the game goes or how pressed you are,
If you're up 2, maybe he doesn't have to play.
You move him up the lineup, but there's no question that he's proved that his game could help them right now. But obviously, that for me, you're looking at 6, if not 7, for him if he feels right.
Yeah.
But you gotta. Your first thought is protecting the kid. You want him to play for you for 10, 15 years.
Yeah, that's the logical, correct answer.
Yeah.
Samsonov's MRI was negative. He does not have any.
He's day-to-day.
He's day-to-day. So the assumption is just really sore. And
Sure.
maybe he'll be available. If he's available game 6, he's healthy. Woll's won you 2 games.
Yeah. Buddy, have a seat.
After Samsonov's been a 920 all year.
We're gonna walk and Woll with Joseph.
Boo.
Have a seat.
Yeah. Walk and Woll, baby.
Or go home.
After all, you're my wonder wall. I'm
The
a great
great
singer.
You sing as well as I do. All right.
All
do you
right,
got, Sammy?
let's get ready for some picks.
Yeah.
It's time for playoff picks, fellas, presented by Bet365. You can visit the app for the latest odds. We're going to get into the Golden Knights and Oilers a little bit later. But I was surprised to see that the Golden Knights are a pretty big underdog now in the series. They're up to plus 145.
Really?
Yeah, I guess maybe it has to do with Aiden Hill and net and the
Their best goal or defenseman not
yeah,
being available.
But that was before anything was announced. But they're probably just assuming that he may be out for a couple games. So it's plus 145 for the Knights to win the rest of the series. They still have the home ice advantage. Pretty good value to me if you think that Vegas still has a chance in that.
They won the division like 115 points or something.
Yeah, so
wild.
And if you're betting on that, you just really hope that Jonathan Quick doesn't get in any of these
I think
games.
the Oilers win, but I think that's a good bet.
Okay.
Just on that series, for those of you noting how that game ended, Darnell Nurse has been suspended for the next game, 1 game, for his game misconduct, instigator, and a game misconduct under 5 minutes to go to end a hockey game.
So arbitrary.
Jay Woodcroft has been fined $10,000. Sometimes we see that penalty being rescinded with a change of heart on the call, which is not uncommon in the past.
With a change of heart on the call, like could they call the ref today and be like, "Hey, stripes"?
They can take away the game misconduct.
Huh?
Yeah.
Pretty
You've never heard that?
I guess I have. It's just crazy to me that some guy could just change his mind and go, you know what?
Yeah, they can.
You're fine.
You scamp. You're fine.
Go on. You.
Yeah.
So apparently Mark Stone said after the game that Nick Hague asked for the fight before the face-off.
Oh, no, Mark Stone? That's not helping.
So you thought maybe that might go into the decision-making process or whatever.
Oh,
but
I would be submitting that as evidence, Your
So-
Honor.
yeah.
I know they were waiting on Vegas to return to have a hearing on Pietrangelo's slash on Dreisaitl's. So if that hasn't happened, it's going to happen really soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the announcement of Darnell Nurse being suspended for 1 game on his game misconduct, there's no question that he's going to get hit with a 1-game suspension as well.
Petro.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then it kind of balances out.
But it doesn't balance out, right?
I'm just telling you, that's.
Are we fitting in our Petro talk here?
No, let's. I got a couple other things. We'll go to break.
We'll get into that a little later, but just that's the feeling out there.
To quote Wes McCauley, you can't do that. Can't do that.
Last couple things here for you quickly. Carolina looking to close out the Devils tonight on home ice. Just a better team. And I like them at minus a goal and a half, so that means they have to win by 2. And over the total at 5.5, which has been a lock in this series. That parlay pays plus 425. Dallas back at home tonight. I like a Joel Pavelski goal anytime, plus 145. And if you want to parlay that with a Stars win, you can get that to 210, plus 210.
So Carolina Hurricanes win 4-2 tonight.
You win.
Plus 425.
There you go. So that was playoff picks presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds, fellas.
After the break, Gord Stellick, Leaf Nation pre and post, former general manager. We'll hear where Gordo is on his Hopo meter.
All right. Let's do it.
All right. After the break, more on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
Nobody move. Nobody move. Where are you, precious? Doing? Everyone just remain seated. I think he left. Dewey?
From the City News 680 traffic.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, we started the show with a heartbeat, didn't we, Derek? Now let's go to a guy who should be on Team Beat magazine covers. Gord Stellick. Gordo?
I love the Stellictricity. I love it. Love it. I'm now, do I have to get hooked up to the Hopometer? Like, is that like a lie detector test? Like, how does that work?
Pretty much. Yeah. So, where are you on the Hopometer?
By the way, I do remember Tiger Beat magazine. I don't think Justin Bourne does. And, the Osmonds and all that were. And there was a group called the DeFranco family that were the Canadians version out of Welland, Ontario, that would be on it. But
hey, listen,
I digress.
At one time, they put John Candy on the cover of Teen Beat or Tiger Beat magazine.
Okay. Well, he would be good. He would be good.
Okay. An Owl magazine that was like those? I have no idea what's going on here.
Okay, Hopometer, give it to me.
Yeah, okay, out of 10, 5 out of 10, the Leafs win it all. If they win tomorrow, it's a 7 out of 10. And if they win Game 6, it's like a 9 out of 10. Ooh. So I got a 5 out of 10 chance right now, winning 3 in a row.
That was for the series, to be clear. You said win it all,
yes.
And I was like, okay, for the series, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay,
so 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
5 out of 10.
Wow. Why is it only
only?
What 50% do you think that would be the reason why they would lose tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night's the key, Kyper and Justin, in that I don't know what it is about teams struggling on home ice, everybody throughout the playoffs, especially the Leafs. Like, if they can't take advantage of the home ice, tomorrow, and they're not quite out of the woods yet, in that the loss in 4, which would have been devastating. Now, if you lose in 5 and get the crap boot out of you on home ice because you lose poorly, you're kind of almost still in that boat. I just think that tomorrow is the key. And if they get by that, then I really like their chances. That's why my Hopometer, the Hopometer is weighted towards that game. After that, I feel pretty good. This has been a playoff of momentum. Florida did it to the Boston Bruins. The Devils did it to the New York Rangers. It seems like once you seize momentum in a big way, if you keep playing the way you got it, you can take it and run with it. And that's where I'm looking at this.
Gordo, what do you make of the Maple Leafs scoring 2 goals in 6 straight games, given their offensive ability? Like they showed that they can defend and all that last game, but what's going on with that offense?
Yeah, not good enough. Not good enough. I mean, you look at the Carolina Hurricanes, what they're doing without Therien and Svechnikov. I don't quite put Pacioretty in the same mix because he was a bonus add-on. He was just there for a couple of games, but other guys like Martin Canada are finding the scoring. So, Justin, and what is it, 6 games in a row, scoring 2 goals. The only way you can win is like you did last night, 2-1. And that's, again, when I talk about the Hopometer, I'm saying on Friday, okay, now that, again, these new shackles that got created in this round, you've kind of released them to some degree. Can you release the offense a bit more? I mean, we want to give Florida all kinds of credit about the way they've playing, being aggressive, checking hard. The Leafs actually did that last night as well. When you pass up on a 4-on-1 and you got a no hope a shotta, come on. Like, these are the kind of things that I don't know. Are they uptight or what may be, but they just don't have that kind of that natural fluidity. But so you get lucky last night. You get a fortuitous bounce. Nylander puts it in, and you get not a highlight reel goal by Mitch Marner, who scored a ton of highlight reel goals. So maybe that'll break the logjam.
Earlier in the show, Gordo, our Sammy was still hoping out that Bobrovsky would act like Bobrovsky at some point in this series and fall off the face of the earth here. On the other side, there's a lot of people that have not lost sleep over Joseph Woll coming in and taking over for Samsonov here. And not a lot of evidence to support a theory that, he can close this thing out. What is it about him that has so many people believing that he can do this?
By the way, do you have like a 24/7 medical, someone in attendance for Sammy?
Yes. Sis Boomba and Derek are back there.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. Anyway, I think they got basic first aid. Sammy, oh boy. Hey, the goaltending was the one question mark all season long. just about playing well in the regular season, but they, rolled the dice in the summer, unproven playoff goaltender. And here you got the forwards not scoring. You had the D, like Brody being uncharacteristically ordinary. Giordano struggling. I'm talking before last night. Justin Hall having a terrible time. And the goaltending, whether it's Samsonov and especially, Justin Woll coming through. And I met the guy back in the Austin Matthews draft the second day. Very impressive. I know, Justin, you would have met him as well, and Kyper, but just, he just was a really sharp, he made an impression on me. That doesn't mean you're going to stop. My mom makes an impression on me, but I wouldn't put her in goal right now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But, I really liked his whole makeup, deportment, you name it. And what I've liked this year is they haven't had a young goaltender up based on merit, basically. It's been next guy up where he's short of body. And then watching him play for the Toronto Marlies this year, he's battled so many injuries. So the statistics are there, but it's more the eyeball test. And even whatever the 8 games or whatever number he played in the regular season, that's the part I really, really liked, beyond the statistics. And that's been great that he's been able to do it in this almost 2 full games. And it's nice that they gave him some support. I think, guys, that's what was really disturbing in game number 3, that you got this guy coming in. He makes a huge save early on, and then you don't give him any support, the kind of support you gave him last night. And that's the part that was really perplexing and distressing if you were a Leaf fan. But it's nice to have a young goaltender being developed from within playing so well.
One of the major struggles going after game 1 looked to be the handling of the Tkachuk, Bennett, Cousins line. They've been pretty quiet, offensively. I think they have 2 goals through 4 games between them, but they are a force physically, aren't they? Like, what do you make of that line and how Toronto's handled them after the first game of the series?
Yeah, that last part there, Justin. Again, it goes back every year. The Maple Leafs have chosen not to be a force physically. Now, this year they added like Achari and a few things like that, a few more components. I mean, Luke Schenn, man, he's been a real plus. But I think, to your point, that they have not had the statistics, but they played a very effective brand of hockey that really the whole of the Florida Panthers have. Like, especially before last night's game, like Leafs couldn't get out of their zone. I mean, all of a sudden, one reason the forwards weren't going, you're not scoring, is you couldn't get out of your zone cleanly because of the aggressive forechecking of the Panthers. Early in game 3, we were trying some of the long passes that seemed to work for a bit, but that's been a big part of it. They played that brand of that style, but all of a sudden now it's funny. Now some of the big Leaf guns got some goals. It's Matthew Tkachuk hasn't got on the scorecard, and that he's drawing, I wouldn't say criticism, but just, a little bit more expectation there in Florida. But I think team concept-wise, they've played the kind of, what they brought Paul Maurice in for. They said they needed to play a different, a more better-suited playoff style of hockey after winning the President's Trophy. And they had a bit of an uneven regular season, but they got that style together at the right time. In a lot of ways, it kind of mirrors what's been a criticism of the Toronto Maple Leafs over the years about, not having as good a playoff style of hockey as they have in the regular season.
Gord, are you comfortable with the Leafs defensive group? 7 of them, questionable whether Giordano is going to be in the lineup or not, but I mentioned the extra day looking like it really benefited them. What did you see out of that blue line last night that you didn't see in the first 3 games?
Yeah, I really wondered about that extra day as well, Kyper. I thought it might be a negative. Like, there's nothing more of a drag than being on the road and another loss and another day to kind of get it rehashed and all that. What I saw, Kyper, the compete factor that this team had a hell of a regular season. And, and there was a lot of compete, and there's a lot of willingness, and there's a lot of guys that, really play hard and try hard. And to not see it the first 3 games, and Sheldon Keefe, I think it was after game 2, called it baffling. And join me in the club, like, to be that baffled, to do things you don't normally do. And it started with just to me, the lack of compete, the lack of wanting to win the one-on-one battles. And and that was, I mentioned earlier that, TJ Brody's been a steady D. Man, he struggled the first 3 games. He was very ordinary, and a lot of the other D were as well. Justin Hall had a terrible time. And so I just saw that last night, keeping the play to the outside. What were they talking about? Like two shots of 5-on-5 from the scoring chances in total for the Florida Panthers. And you really saw the commitment to get their body in front, the stick in front, all those kind of things that I didn't see the first 3 games.
As they head into this, crucial fifth game for this series. How much do you think reputations and not so much reputations, but I guess careers are on the line at this point? We talked about saving face going into last night. Is everyone going to get fired if they lose this game? How many games do they have to win before people go, boy, game of that round, maybe they should run it back? Is that even possible to get there again?
That's funny because that's a great question, Justin. I don't know. If they go to 7, does that do it? And because I don't know, because if it was a hard-fought series that was 2-1 after 3, like most series are, that would be a little bit different. And also, we'd be learning about the Florida Panthers then. Like, at that point, we're just so disappointed in the Leafs play that you say, wait a sec, this is a Panther team that was the President Trophy winners. They added Matthew Tkachuk, whatever. Now we're kind of doing this a little bit on the later side. But, it's funny, Justin, sitting with people watching the game, and they go, blow it up. Let's do a rebuild. And I'm going, do you know what a rebuild entails, okay? I don't care. Like, it's absurd. So when the season ends, it's not like, okay, everyone's gone right away. There certainly is. I have no idea what they think about the president, the general manager, the coach. Obviously, if it ends poorly, one or all three of them could very well be, could be pay the price. I don't know. But on the other side, okay, you say, let's trade Neil. They got to trade one of the core 4. Well, 2 of them are unrestricted free agents in a year. You're not going to trade Mitch Marner. John Tavares is untradeable. Okay, maybe Nylander if that placates you, but with a year left on a deal, it's not so whatever. And it's not the solution. I think one thing I do like, don't get me wrong, it's not placating me, nor should it anybody else about these playoffs. They got Joe Woll and goal, and they got Matthew Knies as forwards. They got 2 blue chip players on entry level contracts, which provide some cap relief for Kyle Dubas or whoever the general manager is. I mean, that's a positive moving forward. But like I said, afterwards, like I just can't, Justin and Kyper, today. Thank God we're not listening to the drivel again. And it's not the guy saying it. I can't. Please don't give me the process. Don't give me. Oh, I'm sorry. Social media, our players are taking. Oh, please stop. I can't take that anymore. Like let's. And maybe if I have a criticism in the past, I don't think they were held more accountable in the summertime in the off season. I don't mean they should get skewered, but I think they were kind of given an easy pass that, oh well, these things happen in the playoffs. It's a process. We're learning. No, they don't happen in the playoffs, and that's why they happen again. Okay. And that's where it's got to stop. That's all I can tell you. So whenever the post-game press is going to be the same drivel, count me out. I'll be sitting with a Tiger Beat magazine. I got one autographed by Bobby Sherman, Kyper, and that's what I'll be doing, okay?
These guys don't know who Bobby Sherman is.
I know Tiger Beat magazine, I'm pretty sure, but Bobby Sherman, I got nothing.
Hey, Little Woman's a song.
Was the tank named after him?
Hey, Gord, by chance they get on a little mini streak here and you are into a game 6 or game 7, where would you be on how difficult the decision would be to put Matthew Knies back in?
Oh, I'd put him back in a heartbeat if he's cleared to play. I put him. I was one of the people very cautious. Stop expecting a guy coming out of college to be the difference maker in the playoffs. And I still believe that because it's got to be your big guns that do it. But man, he is just really like his play when he saved that goal. Right, they're down by 3, so it looked like a play that was a great play that wouldn't matter against Tampa Bay. When he went the extra mile. Well, they win that game. They tie and win it. And they're not here if that play doesn't happen. So if he is ready to go, that's about the only must lineup change. I mean, I don't get excited about the 18th and 17th players and all that. I know, Kippy, that was you for a big part of your career, so sorry about that. But anyway, I just sort of trust what Sheldon does. I didn't mean that as a slight. I just meant like whatever Sheldon's feel is. But that one, Matthew Knies, is the guy that I'd have to get back in the lineup.
Yeah, I've taken a 180 on 11 and 7.
You fine with it?
Yes, yeah. I am. Just for the mere fact that I think you get your stars a lot more engaged.
I like the chance to be like, okay, Matthews and Marner, you get Nylander for a shift, you get O'Reilly for a shift. I've enjoyed that. Gord, you feel the same way?
No, come on. You can do that anyway.
Oh,
it's not house league, okay? The parents aren't calling after each shift. My fourth line boy didn't get on. I don't get that.
Just bolt them to the
do whatever
bench.
they want. Mix it up, double shift, play them more. Of course, you do that in the playoffs. So I'm still not big on 11 and 7. No.
Like it.
Gord, you're on fire today. You got a beat going right through your chest right now.
Well, I'm heading to the tennis court right from here, Kippy. So you better. Well, it's mixed doubles too. So it could be my wife Lisa and Kelly Hyatt that are going to endure my wrath.
All right, just a fair warning to the cricket club: have the paddles ready.
Well, make sure you have some for Sammy too. Okay.
Okay, we will. Gord Stellick,
okay,
everybody.
Boys. Thanks, Gordo.
Leaf Nation,
See you
pre and
guys.
post. Former general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Knows his stuff.
Yeah, good stuff, Gordo.
All right. Did we get through all our clips, boys?
We have worked our way through all our clips.
We got them all. One of Mark Savard's greatest joke, he used to do the Leafs Nation postgame. He did it for a year, and I worked closely with him and Gordo. And he always chirped Gordo for playing tennis. And instead of calling it doubles tennis, he'd always be like, "Are you playing triples tennis, Gordo?" I can't imagine Gordo playing tennis. I love the guy, but just
fully entertaining.
He's good.
Have you played with him?
Yeah, I've seen him.
Have you played him?
I don't know if I've ever played him. We were members. I'm no longer a member there, but at the same tennis court.
You're a tennis guy?
I played a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. You?
I a little. I have a racket and play once in a while, but very once a summer I'll play.
I love it.
Oh, I went through a stretch where it was my Wimbledon watching days with Borg and McEnroe, but
yeah, only wearing white. And, well, that era, the inseam on your the inseam on your shorts was 3 inches in that era.
That ball was out. Yes.
And then I don't really like watching tennis.
No,
it's I might offend some tennis fans here.
Don't worry.
But I really feel like you kind of you've seen one, you've seen them all. It's kind of the same thing.
There's some nights during the regular season I think I'm watching tennis in
some
a hockey game.
Zone
yeah, no, it's fair. But if it's a big high stakes thing where a guy's looking to break a record or there's a Canadian involved in a final, I'll get up for it. But outside of that, I just really can't care. And I'm sorry to our boy Devang, who does all our social media here, who absolutely loves tennis. So
I like watching, but it's got to be people I know. So that's 12 people.
And our Canadians have never been better.
Yeah, we got a lot of good Canadians.
We're producing.
Yeah, we got good Canadians.
One of them's going to break through again.
Bianca
and win a
Andreescu
major.
literally beat Serena Williams at the U.S. Open in the final. So
it's pretty good.
That's tough to top when it comes to Canadian tennis.
We're doing okay.
Yeah, that's good.
To quote our boy.
You guys got all your tennis talk
Yeah,
out of the way here.
Buddy, this
Please,
is the most
what's
tennis
next, ping pong?
This is the most tennis I've ever done on the radio.
Now you want to talk sports that I play. Ping pong. Let's go.
There's a table up on the 5th floor. I'll meet you up there
Is
after
there?
the show, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Now's a good time to go to break.
All right.
Okay. Kevin Lowe, 6-time Stanley Cup champion, Hall of Famer. We'll discuss oil in Vegas, a couple of suspensions.
Texas Tea, great slot machine.
Big slash. What's it going to get Pietrangelo? Also want to talk to him about an extra day off he had to help us win the Stanley Cup in 1994 and what it meant to him and what it meant to the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. Kevin Lowe, after the break. We know you're watching and listening. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube and give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. More after these words.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Love talking to our next guest, Kevin Lowe, 6-time Stanley Cup champion, and a guy that knows all too well what it's like to play this time of year and the emotions and the battles, especially the one that we're seeing between the Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights. Lozy, how are you, pal?
Hey, Kip, I'm doing great. Feeling better today than I did Tuesday morning after that debacle on Monday at Edmonton. But it's a very entertaining series, and great to see some heavy hockey.
Heavy hockey, emotional hockey, Lozy, and one that ended up going to the league office after the game. And I'm watching it, and Pietrangelo, obviously, a ton of emotion towards Draisaitl. I see this slash. And, you know, my first thought is, what's the big deal? I'd see 3 of those out of Kevin Lowe when he played.
Maybe not quite so obvious, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the nurse one, it was hard to avoid, although it wasn't really a terrible instigator, you know, but he did have his gloves off before he went in there. I think the league probably had no choice. Be interesting to see what they do with Pietrangelo, because although I don't think he hit him all that hard, I think just the optics doesn't look very good for the game of hockey, what he did. I don't know what he was thinking. He obviously was trying to send a bit of a message, but I don't think he picked the right stage to do it.
No, he's been an interesting guy for me in this series because he's obviously a talented guy, an important guy for Vegas. But, you know, how much credit do you give Evander Kane for getting under his skin? The guy seemed to be playing hockey on tilt a little bit here.
Well, Evander, I mean, what a blessing he's been for the organization since he's come to Edmonton. He's exactly, Jason, what the team needed. A guy that could play the game at a high level, could also play on the edge a bit, play a physical type of game, and you know, he's taken some penalties in the playoffs that he probably regrets, but overall he's given the Oilers a new dynamic that's really given the organization a look like they can win a Stanley Cup.
You know, Lozy, with your 6 Stanley Cups, you know this as well as anyone, but maybe you can reiterate to the listeners. I mean, that fine line between sometimes pushing and not pushing and biting your lip and turning the other cheek or taking a number or waiting for a better opportune time to equal or at least send a message. And that has to be a constant this time of year, does it not?
No question. It was one of our golden rules of the playoffs, you know, initiate, do not retaliate. And it's tough, you know, when your reaction is you're in a high pressured moment and it's physical and some guy gives you a cheap shot, to not want to lash out at the person, but the consequences can be just so darn devastating for the team. And you learn that over time, you know. The golden rule is very simple. Get the puck out, get it in, finish your checks, initiate, don't retaliate, and stay out of the penalty box. And when you have talent, you know, like the Oilers do, you play a good system and you abide by those golden rules. It's a recipe to win a cup.
Well, you know, you don't want to be taking penalties against that Edmonton Oilers team. What an unbelievable power play this year, over 32% in the postseason. I think they're still at about 50%. What do you see that makes them? I know McDavid is out there, but what is it that makes that power play just so unbelievably unique?
Well, yeah, if you compare it to the Oilers of the 80s, who never got to that level of production, I would say the biggest difference is discipline. When I say discipline, I mean their power play is very choreographed. You know, they have a bunch of selections that they have. They support one another greatly. They never try to throw any sort of gambling passes unless it's for a scoring chance. So they rarely give it up. They enter I don't know what their percentage of entries with Connor carrying the puck or Leon, but they enter at a high percentage rate and they don't turn the puck over. And it's hard for the penalty killing team. You know, they don't want to attack them because they don't want to get out of position, so they have to be a little more passive. And eventually they're going to get a good shot option. And they now with Bouchard hammering the puck the way he did, Tyson Barrie was a very good power play quarterback for the Oilers, but he didn't quite have the shot that Bouchard has. And now that's another option that's just, taking them to another level.
You know, the other thing for me, and we watched a pretty good power play all season long in Toronto, but it's the ability for me that I see the Oilers of disguising and, much like anything else, if you have a tell, you give an opportunity to your opponent to read it and maybe get a jump on it, whether you're a goaltender or someone that's going to block a shot. But they're so good at disguising their next move or their next pass or the next shot.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you got Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, two of the best players in the world, and then it's a step down. It's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who's a darn good player in his own right, and then you got Zach Hyman, who's a perfect net front guy who gives good screens, can play the bumper, can bang in a rebound, and then now Bouchard on the point. It's a devastating group, no doubt, and they've obviously, I doubt we'll ever see these kind of numbers again. I mean, they're really at a level where they've got total comfort with one another, and they're playing with house money now. They go in and there's not much pressure on them to have to. I mean, they could go 0-20 and still have maybe one of the best power plays in the history of the NHL in the playoffs. So, not that they want to, not that they're going to do that or anything, but they're just really got a lot of mojo right now, and it's fun to watch.
Kevin, I think my dad, as Bob Bourne, played on the Islanders teams back in the day, and we were talking about this Leafs team that we're watching all the time, and he said, one thing it reminded him of with the Superstars was that when all Al Arbor wanted to do when their team played the Oilers was beat the hell out of Gretzky. He said that was the only thing he cared about our team doing when they would get in those finals and trying to make life hard on the Superstars. I wonder if over your time with the Oilers, you have experienced seeing all-stars like Gretzky or whoever struggling a little bit in the playoffs, maybe some media backlash. Like it feels like it happens to a lot of the great players. It gets harder and maybe they don't produce at the same rate at first before breaking through. What are your thoughts on, these guys kind of going through that process here in Toronto?
Well, first of all, your dad was a great player. He was a big part of those championship teams, and I know all too well it certainly takes the stars, but it takes players like your dad to win 4 cups in 4 years. And he's right. No doubt the good teams in the playoffs target the stars. And, it all has to be done within the rules of the game, but there's much more attention put on the stars, and they got to learn to suck it up. They got to learn to play a little heavier hockey. They got to learn to even seen Leon a few times in the playoffs. Draisaitl, he's retaliated, and that's the worst thing you can do as a star is because then the other team knows they have you. So I saw it happen a lot to Wayne. I mean, I saw it happen to Wayne as a teammate, and then I saw it happened to Wayne as an opponent when Esa Tikkanen was chasing him all over the ice when he played for the Kings and we played for the Oilers. But, it never – the great players find a way. At the end of the day, the ultimate goal is a Stanley Cup. And, they've really got to keep that in mind when they play. And just – I mean, I was – listen, I'm not cheering for the Leafs, but I was happy to see them win last night. I was happy to see Marner score a goal. They're great players, and they're learning on the fly, I hope that they can have success. I'd love to see an all-Canadian final.
Oh, there's a few people under this roof that'll probably
that'd go over well here.
Yeah, it would go okay here as well, Losey. Speaking of the Leafs, we were talking being down 3-0 and then having that extra day to maybe just recuperate a little bit more and come up with maybe another day of thinking about what needs to change going into Game 4, I kind of related it a little bit to our Stanley Cup final when we were up 3-1 and then found ourselves 3-3, and we had the extra day off, and what it meant to maybe even a guy like you.
Well, it meant a lot to me because I was 35 years old and we were playing in our second Game 7 in back-to-back series. Yeah, it made all the difference in the world, and I think it'll be helpful for the Leafs, no question. Give them time to, digest the win and not, and forget about it and get rested up. I mean, I believe they're the better team. God bless the Panthers. They're playing lights out, but I'd put big money on the Leafs winning tomorrow night, and I think that the extra day off will help them.
Last one for me. Just want to get your thoughts on Leon. You mentioned him retaliating, but just a guy who rises up in the playoffs, statistically up there with some of the greats in terms of points in his first however many playoff games. Have you seen, how do you compare what he does in the playoffs to some of the great playoff players of your own playing days?
Wow, what numbers he has. He's only second behind Gretzky, just ahead of Mario Lemieux. Whew. And if there's anything you can be proud of is performing in the playoffs. And, he's doing it so unbelievably. He's a big, strong guy. He's a fiery guy. And, I think the knock on players, the bigger players, I think of Frank Mahovlich and, big stars in the past that sometimes in the regular season would be, the fans would get on them a little bit about not maybe looking like they're not giving it their all. But, and I'm not suggesting that Leon does that, but, sometimes he seems to be a little disinterested in a regular season game, but he certainly knows playoffs. I know he wants to win a cup bad. And, the numbers are they're ridiculous, but, I really hope I hope these guys. I know they're going to come out tomorrow night in Vegas, and it's going to be a great game. But I think they're the better team, and I think they should go on to the semifinals.
One more for me, Losey, before we let you go. Hockey Night in Canada does a terrific job when it comes to Maple Leaf Square and the Oilers watch party, where they constantly go out and you see these massive crowds, and I'm just wondering what that scene would mean to you, and if you ever envision seeing something like that maybe 25 years ago, and what it means to the community.
It's so fantastic for the community. The game of hockey, as Canadians, we're so blessed to have it as a sport that the country's fond of. Playoffs are always so exciting. I remember as a kid, sitting in the basement watching the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins, and couldn't wait to go out and play a little street hockey after the game. And now, watching it, I think, even though we didn't have the big watch parties outside the building, I recall, Kip, we'd land at 4:00 in the morning from some U.S. city, and there'd be 1,000 fans at the airport cheering us on, Edmonton's always, of course, everybody knows about the Leafs world and their loyal fans, and it's no different out here in Edmonton. It's really good to see. It's growing the game. When you get not all the people, unfortunately, can afford to go to the games or get a ticket because the demand's so high. But at least when they're around the building and they're feeling a part of it in amongst a group at a fun time of the year, it's really good for the game.
Well, hopefully we can see a few more between now and mid-June. How's that?
Yeah. Fingers crossed. That would be great. It's time. We need to bring the cup back to Canada.
All right, Losey. You did it 6 times or 5 times anyways in Edmonton. Thank goodness for one south of the border with me.
Yeah, you appreciate that one.
I appreciate that one too. Kevin Lowe, thanks for doing this, pal.
Okay, guys. Good chat with you.
Thanks so much. You too.
Oh, my God. He played the game so hard. And he's a little string bean too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
I blame my mother for my gentle, polite upbringing. I feel like I could have had a little more hardship in my life. Could have used a little more edge in my own hockey game.
And I'm not overly exaggerating on the Pietrangelo slash and some of the things that 20 years ago you got away with.
There's one referee on the ice, and then it was like it meant you would have to deal with the repercussions in a fiercer way, I think, physically.
you'd be fine with a 1-game suspension?
No.
No, I mean
More?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, nah.
Yeah.
You're not losing Pietrangelo for a potential
But see,
series
that
loss.
is the argument why he shouldn't be suspended, is that Vegas really needs him. But you can't do that. You can't skate the distance across the ice. Put your stick over your head and slash the second best player on earth in the wrist.
You can, and it'll cost you a game.
To me, that is like, we can't allow that as a league. As much as I don't want to see Vegas, I want a fair series with two amazing Western Conference teams with the best players in it. But you can't do that.
When I watch what I've watched already in that series, it also factors in for me.
Well, then blame the league or the refs for letting it get there.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's on them. And push came to shove last night, and they're going to calm it down. They're taking two very important people out of each lineup for 1 game, and they say, now we're going to regain control. You watch the next game. You watch the stuff that guys will not. I expect a fairly penalty-filled first period, if not first half of the game, against Edmonton and Vegas. Jess, for the league and the officials to send a message is that we've had enough with this. Okay, Evander Kane taking runs at the end of the game and cross-checking up around the head area. That's enough.
This to me is like, you got jaywalking and assault with a deadly weapon, and going, both guys got penalized. You know, we gave them both penalties. They're both going to stop doing it. It's the same thing. It's like, no, you got to
Pietrangelo isn't really that guy. His wire's just.
Oh, listen to me.
They've been all over.
Do you know how much he's been run at?
That's what I mean. He's been
cross-checked.
Finally, he just short-circuited.
He earned that one. Like, he should deserve to get to do it. But you're not allowed to.
He's like, I'm going to get hurt here. No one's protecting me here. Yeah. I'm taking matters in my own hands. I've had enough. Yeah. That's what happened to him.
Yeah.
And I will say, Pietrangelo is an intelligent guy. He didn't pick some 12th forward to give a chop to. He saw his opportunity. The best player on Edmonton in the playoffs so far this postseason, quibble with McDavid.
They get free shots on me. I'm one of the best players on Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm going after their best player.
And to me, as a league, it's just like, you think of how the NBA protects its stars, or quarterbacks. NFL, you can't even touch the quarterback.
That's why he's only going to get 1 game. Is because
that's protecting Leon Draisaitl?
No, not Leon. They're also apologizing to Alex for letting it get that far.
I'll hear that.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's like, you know what? You're right. You're right. And if we did a better job of pulling the reins in this series, we know you wouldn't have had to do that.
You know, which was the bad one to me is Kane, like a second left in a period.
That was horrible.
Running in at Pietrangelo. Like, it's not.
No,
they're not
message sending.
Right. They're not going to go play hockey the other way. It's just going in to be
So
you can't allow that.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Under normal circumstances,
it's a bad job.
November, December, February, that's 2 games all day long, maybe 3. But
that's 2 or 3 playoff games to me.
1, Darnell 1.
I thought 2.
I think he's going to get 2 games for that.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised.
Yeah. The Nurse one is
I'd like
really
to get
strange.
it before we go off the air. You think we will?
No, I don't
they'll
think
put it
so.
close to puck drop.
I don't know. They had a late flight home, Sammy, so I don't know what time they were able to do it.
To Lowe's point, like, the force is not there in the Pietrangelo one. Like, he's giving him a little one. It's not like he's like
Listen,
full of rage. He's full of rage.
He breaks Leon's wrist. He's done for the series.
Yeah, if that. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, probably
Pietrangelo's done for the series.
And that's the thing.
If Leon would have been done for the series, then all day long, you don't get to play either.
I think I'm okay with playing the results on this one because it's
the
intent there. You get 1 game for the intent, and then if it's bad, with the results.
Listen, I've seen baseball swings where a guy's completely missed a guy, and you're like, well,
you should still get penalized. Just because the guy sucks at baseball doesn't mean he shouldn't be penalized. Yeah.
Just because you go 0 for 1 at the plate doesn't mean that it's not suspendable.
Yeah. So I'll just say that if it's less than 2 games, I think the the NHL dropped the ball. You just can't allow your league to have guys getting chopped like that. Although we are getting a guy called Bundy on next. I don't think it's for polite play, so we'll get his take on it.
You speak, of course, of Chris Therien, former Flyer defenseman. He played the game hard, too. Going to discuss with him momentarily about Keith Jones coming in to now save the Philadelphia Flyers. All right, let's bring him in. Chris Therien, Bundy. Snow the Goalie, a Flyer podcast, and his book is called Road to Redemption. And also, I mentioned earlier in the show, Bundy, bundyrecovery.com. People that struggle with drug and alcohol addiction, a great way for them to reach out to you. And I want to get into all of that. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Yeah, Jonesy the savior, and that's it's kind of like what flew out of left field. It seemed to kind of break yesterday, guys, and there was a lot of rumors flying throughout the day. But people that want to try to keep a secret in Philadelphia, it's not easily done. It's one of those big small towns and things fly. But you know what? Again, as I look at Jonesy guys coming in on this, like I'm thrilled. As you know, Kyper too. There's guys that. I think at the end of what I said is when you're done with hockey, when you're done playing and your personality, you tend to either go one way to the broadcasting side or to management. And I think that's a lot dictated by your own personality of who you are as a player. And I think Jonesy got in there. But the thing that I'm excited about, and it's a job that I've shared with him. We've worked together on the air. I've done radio as well, traveled for many years. You meet everybody in the business. You meet every agent. You meet every GM, every other president. You know every single player in the league and have an understanding of the game and talent gauging. So from that standpoint, I'm really, really excited because people that think, they're just taking a color guy and doing this. There's been a lot of guys that have done it and had success. Dale Talon, John Davidson's gone in, made a splash for some years, and some years he didn't. But again, there's a method to this. And also this is, as I said to you guys through a couple of years, this is a unique sports town. It's a unique market, and it needs a face. And I don't think for the last 7 or 8 years there's been a face to this at all. It certainly wasn't. It was not Chuck Fletcher and the team. And it became Torts a little bit more this year. But they needed a top, a top compilation of guys to come in here and restructure things. And I believe that Jonesy is as good or better than almost anybody else that could have interviewed for that job. And I want people to know that there's a very intelligent hockey person in there. But there's a very serious person as well beyond, the person that would be on the morning show here in Philadelphia or can, wail out jokes as well as anybody. There's a serious person in there, and I'm excited about the future here.
So, Bundy, what is the job? What does it consist of? How much hockey is involved? How much is community-centric? What's that role look like?
You know what? That's an unbelievably good question. Someone asked me that last week. And from where I'm sitting, my answer was, I said 3 things. And I did. It was about 7 days ago. I said, It's winning, winning, and more winning. That's it. If I'm the president of a hockey team, my job is to find out and to keep an eye on everybody below me to make sure that there's W's on the board and as many as possible through the year so you have a successful playoff run. Whether there's baby kissing involved, I have no idea if that's what they want. If there's more of a community relations, I understand there's a part of that. Yes. Even with the hockey ops side of this, I do believe that the hockey side needs to make some amends as well with this hockey with the fans in this city. So I think from a standpoint, they have a face to it, but I do believe there's still a lot of work left to do between the Flyers fans and the hockey team and the organization. And I thought there was a much better bridge last year, but this certainly now with some more stuff in concrete with Briere now having the interim tag off him and then Jonesy coming in. I think it'll give people a good understanding now that is the face. That's the guy who has to answer to a lot of things. But in terms of what that job description looks like, I don't know how they look at it, but I look at it as a job to make sure that this team is heading in the north direction, and winning is the only theme to that team.
Usually, though, Bundy, when we see someone step into a president of hockey ops, it's at the top, and then you get to work your way down. You get to pick your general manager. You get to pick your coach. That's not the case with Briere already there. That's not the case with Tortorella there. Are there some to suggest that the only way you take this job is if you listen to us and you have to keep these guys? Or is there a real sense that the tag comes with the authority now to reassess these guys in a year or a year and a half and have the power that usually comes with the job?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I, again, listen, I mean, they needed a figurehead. I really do believe they needed someone that fans could look at and relate to in a sense and have somebody to answer for it. Dave Scott before, Dave was not a sports guy. He was a business guy. And he tried to work his way in as a hockey guy. Ed Snyder, no matter who you put on here.
Ooh, Sammy?
I think in terms of...
You want to reconnect, Sammy?
The future. Yeah. There was a lot of weird stuff that went on in that hiring. Running the main team for several years, which became more prevalent 3 years.
Sammy, we good?
All
right, we're going to reconnect with Chris Therien as we talk about the recent hiring of Keith Jones to the Philadelphia Flyers. Listen, I mean, I've known Keith a long time, and he's a pro in everything that he does. I have no doubt in my mind he's going to do a great job there. But it is quite interesting that Tortorella's already entrenched there, and he wasn't going anywhere, and Daniel Briere had the interim that they've now lifted. But as far as a guy that can get a beat on what that organization needs, yeah, Keith Jones all day long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting, to have people recognizable as Philadelphia Flyers running the Philadelphia Flyers. I think the community can connect with that, right? Like that has value. And we've had Keith on the show a number of times, and he's always impressed me by his thoughtfulness. I think sometimes guys think of like anyone who played a physical, heavy role in the NHL as, maybe not putting in the time to really think things through. He's a very intelligent guy. So, lack of experience may be a criticism, but I certainly wouldn't put it past him to do a great job. Smart man.
Yeah, and there is a different feel. And, the one thing is abundantly clear, too, is that the league needs a healthy Philadelphia Flyer. That market is fantastic.
Yeah.
And a great sports town is the Eagles and the Phillies and 76ers have proven, but they need their Flyers going, and they have not had it in quite a while right now, and it's not healthy for the league.
I'd be curious to know what the relationship with Briere and Tortorella is like. Like Briere seems like such a soft-spoken guy. All right. We got Bundy.
All right. Sorry about that.
Guys. Not my fault. Great cell service here in the New South New Jersey.
No worries. You want to pick up where you left off, or where do you want to go?
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to say, guys, like I really like it. It's out of the box kind of signing, but again, Jonesy's been here a long time. I loved him as a teammate. We broadcasted together and traveled for 15 years, so I've been close to Keith. But I do. You guys know me well enough. Even if you're a friend and I thought they put you in there and you weren't equipped to do it, I probably would say so. I love it. I'm proud of Jonesy. He's really worked his way from a lot of levels up to where he's gotten, and I think he's going to be a great face for this team.
Let me ask you, Bundy, if you are Keith Jones for 2 minutes, where do you go first? Do you go community first, getting re-engaged with the fan base, the season ticket holders? Do you go to Daniel Briere with a major signing? Where does Keith Jones go first?
Yeah, I assess what's left over from the Fletcher regime. That's the first thing I'm probably doing, like seeing what's in the office. It goes back even to Hextall and before that. So you have to look, because there's been a pattern of a lot of losing here in a short period of time, going back to the lockout. So you have to do assessments with Danny. The second thing I do, guys, because this is a big market, you need to make a splash trade. They need to come in here and do something for the fans to show them that they're serious. And that, to me, that's it. Community, there's a lot of good people in the area that can handle community relations in the process. But you know what? Yes, they need. I believe there was a re-engagement last year between the fans. The business side, guys, last year was amazing. The building was great every single night, and I was happy to go down, happy to cheer for the team, bring my kids down some nights. It was a really good experience. Now it's important for the fans to understand. This is the biggest thing for me. The fans don't yet believe this team can win, and they've been losing so long that in a lot of ways the emotion has left them. What they need to do is to believe again. And I think that, in a sense, is what Jonesy is going to have to try to do. That will be the mastery of it, is have the fans believe that this is heading in the right direction and that someday soon we will have something proud here in Philly to cheer for again.
I'd be curious to know what the dynamic is like now. So Briere's the GM and Tortorella's kind of the guy, right? He's been there. He's the head coach, and I guess he's a strong personality. Is their relationship good? Should we expect any changes there in the years ahead, or is this something these three guys, there's going to be a synergy with Jones and Briere and Tortorella?
Well, I think everybody right now is probably singing Kumbaya by a campfire. But, I've been around long enough to know that doesn't always last. But, yeah, that's what it is now. I'm sure there's a lot of love going around, and let's go do it. But, yeah, they got a lot of work to do here, and they know that. I've spoke to Danny at length. We got work to do. They got to make a lot of players. I mean, you have the head coach, saying last year, there needs to be a lot of subtraction here. So, that's been kind of laid out by the head coach at the end of the year, and certainly Danny evaluating where their team is and getting younger, and then, getting – the other thing, too, guys, is – you want to be able to, in a couple of years, which is a big part of it, be able to get free agents. It's not like there's just a free agent, automatically you get them. This isn't 1998 anymore, where everybody wanted to come to Philadelphia. So you have to have a team that's good enough and capable enough to be able to recruit free agents that are going to be able to turn your team in the right direction. And that, I'm telling you, there's a lot of trickery and a lot of mastery that's involved with this. And I wish him luck. He's got a heck of a job ahead of him, but there's a lot of intricacies that need to be handled with this team, with the community, and the product on the ice. And until that's done, the fans are going to continue demanding excellence because they've had a lot of it. They've had a lot of good years. I know there's no cup back to 75, but there's been a lot of successful Philadelphia Flyer eras since then. And it's a staple in this community, and it has to remain like that. We cannot have years like we had the last two or three. It's not sustainable, and it's not what Philadelphia Flyers fans have been accustomed to dealing with, nor should they.
They have been accustomed to having faces of franchises from the start with Bobby Clark to even my era with guys like Tim Kerr, Poulin, Brian Propp, Mark Howe, to Eric Lindros. Right now, does that guy exist in the system at all? Can someone step up? Morgan Frost, Scott Laughlin, is it on the outside? Does Keith Jones and Briere have to go find him?
And then again, and I think that guy is found in the draft. Like that guy right now might be 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? We just don't know. And again, they're picking seventh. I think that would be another good thing. How can you get up in the draft? How can you climb up and maybe make a thing to get the fans there? But I don't know. Scotty Lawton's a great player, but I mean, realistically, on a Stanley Cup winning team, he's a third line player. A checker. If that's where you're going. So there's a lot of things. I like Morgan Frost a lot. I've been actually a champion for him and said they should just leave him alone and let him play. And I thought he had a great finish last year. There are young guys here. But in terms of that one person, that one marketable face, that is the face of your player franchise, I don't think it exists here yet.
All right, pal. Well, listen, just tell us about BundyRecovery.com. I'd like to hear about it. Yeah.
So I was one of the things I do is get people into treatment. I talk to them with either mental health, addiction, alcohol, drugs. And what I do is people would I'd say, Rob, reach out to me, get me on Facebook. And I finally said, you know what, let me put up BundyRecovery.com. And this way there's a sheet there. You can fill it in. If you want to talk, if anything on your mind, if you're struggling, we'll get you placed. I don't care if you're located in Montana or in South Florida or in Edmonton. We'll be able to handle that for you. And it's just a way to get people the help they need when they're struggling. And certainly to get back on their feet after a battle with addiction is some of the hardest things to do. So I appreciate you guys letting me talk about it.
That's awesome. Impressive stuff. I know we've talked about it before, but that was the first question I had when I wanted to get help is just, what does that mean? Where do you go? Who do you talk to? Good to give people a first step. That's great stuff, man.
Chris Therien, thanks for joining us, pal.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks. And sorry for the breakup on the phone.
No problem. Snow the Goalie, a Flyer podcast. And he also has Road to Redemption on top of the great work he's now doing with BundyRecovery.com.
Awesome.
Guys, I was told while I walked in the break into the newsroom here, and Luke, my boy Luke, new hire at Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
What's up, Luke?
He did some investigative journalism on what Paul Maurice may have been talking about with the movie.
Oh,
we got the movie answer.
So, and then producer of Fan Drive Time, evening host as well here, Mike Gentili, just texted me. He said there's a little compilation in the system that we might want to play that could give a little credence to what Paul and Maurice might have been talking about. Are you guys ready?
Very much so.
Okay, here we go.
You saw in the last round what happens when a team doesn't take advantage of their chances.
And when you're saying that, I'm thinking of Will Ferrell. You know exactly what I'm talking about, that basketball movie when he's got, well, that's exactly how I felt.
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've come too far.
Okay.
That
I
seems
didn't
right.
know that was from semi-pro.
No, it wasn't.
That's not from semi-pro.
It was from old school.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's what I thought, actually.
but they're like in a locker room.
Right.
So like old hockey guy, got him mixed up.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well
Shout out
done.
Luke.
See, that
He
got a
nailed
lot funnier.
It did. Now it makes sense.
We gotta keep our composure.
That's where if he's going to mention it in a post-game conference, he should have that ready. The PR department should have that ready to play.
You're last.
That's what the basketball movie, it's easy. It's in a locker room. Got to keep our composure. It's right. That's correct. So there you go.
He's talking about Dewey in my mind.
No, he's not.
This is like when
It's like
parents
Bears
of
with
my
Titanic.
generation called every new gaming system Nintendo. It's just all the same thing. It's all one movie.
Nintendos.
Yeah. You playing your Nintendo? It's an Xbox, Mom.
You got
It's
the
a PlayStation.
Nintendos
Sorry,
going.
it's Atari. Okay?
It's playing Pong.
And that's after you threw away the Commodore 64.
Couple of gaps in technology here.
Okay, can we just say, we're thankful for the Coopers and the Paul Maurices to keep us engaged like
We've
that.
been very fortunate through 2 rounds.
What else was he going to do all day other than research Paul Maurice's movie?
Who, Luke?
Yeah.
He's a busy guy. He's doing
please.
he's doing socials.
Twiddling his thumbs.
He's editing audio. He's doing everything for us.
Stop it. He's looking up information on movies.
Luke Swad, he's the type of guy that keeps his place afloat. Okay?
If Paul Maurice does not reference another movie Friday night, I will be very disappointed.
Yeah, it's mandatory. We should have Luke Fox grill him about what movie was tonight like after they lose for the second night in a row, or second game in a row.
If you were to compare tonight to another Will Ferrell movie,
I can't imagine a question that would get you in more trouble than that.
Hey, Ma! We get some
The only
meatloaf!
question is now who references the Titanic at the end of the series?
Oh my God! Any thoughts on Carolina and New Jersey?
Yeah, I got thoughts.
If a tree falls in the woods, does anyone hear it?
Right. When they played 4 games and nothing's been within 3 goals so far, can we get a match?
The game's over before it starts.
I know. Well, that's usually it's like, okay, kids in bed, turn this on. It's 8 o'clock, and game's over. Great. Thanks, guys. Can you give us a game tonight? That's my request.
We'd like a game.
That would be very fun.
Blue Jays aren't playing tonight. Some good NBA tonight too. I'm gonna have a big.
Not much Blue
Lakers,
Jay
Golden
talk.
State tonight.
Last night.
Hey, not much Blue Jay talk amongst us. What, the 21 and 16.
They're bullpens.
What are we seeing out of the Jays this year?
Bad pen.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's killing them in a lot of games.
Really?
Not trustworthy. The bat's a little, maybe not as much offensive depth as we thought originally. They're flawed, but they're still in it.
I'm buried in the Leafs weeds, guys. I'm watching it. I'm writing about it.
I try my best to watch.
I'm not
the Jays,
consuming
but
as much.
It's tough right now
with the Leafs doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Playing
Putting out
hockey in May.
Fires at your kid's school you're putting out.
Literally imported my mother from Western Canada to help.
Where does that fall into how busy you are?
I would say that's a significant element of my life right now.
All right, just like that. The show is over. Get your rest, Sammy. More pessimistic approach tomorrow.
He believes.
Okay?
He
If the Leafs are going to extend this series, you got to stop believing, Sam. That's the word on the street. Our thanks to Gord Stellick, Kevin Lowe, Chris Bundy, Therien. Back tomorrow. Do it all over again. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Real Kyper and Bourne.